Hi, I'm Lynn Hertak,
And I'm Tim Burke.
and we're here today to talk about the convergence of your work life and your home life. I've seen a lot on Twitter lately how people are surprised at how their partner is in their work environment when they're working from home. That is definitely something very unusual that most of us don't get a chance to see. It's a window into a different part of your partner's personality. We've had 10 years to think about how and work on how this works for us. We have some ideas for you.
Specifically, three things that we've really kind of come across as ways that we've learned to navigate doing our work experience and our life experience and our family experience all in the same household at the same time. And those three things really come down to recognizing the different types of people that we are when we're at work versus when we're doing family things. Recognizing that we can be our partner's best unpaid consultant, but that we also need to serve in that role for them when the time arises. But on the other hand, also knowing, this is important, when your partner isn't actually looking for advice, but just somebody to talk through something with. So let's go back to that first point where we talked about the different types of people that we are when we're at work versus when we're at home.
A lot of people do have that different personality when they're at work versus at home. You know, Tim in his work life is very detail oriented, yet at home, I have to keep asking him to wipe the counter down when he's done in the kitchen. So these little things that just shock you about your partner are you're learning right now.
I think one of the important things to really realize about that, though, is that the most effective people, the people who succeed the most, are the ones that are able to adjust their identity based on the situation. We're all basically shapeshifters. And the people who have the most success are the ones who are able to shift their shape the most to mold themselves into that situation. That's a lot easier when you're in a physical space. You go off to work, you become your work person, you come home, and you're your family person. Now the workplace and the family place are the same. And it's going to be disconcerting for you to recognize when your partner is being that other person. What you have to know is that that's good. Now, if they're an incredible jerk at work, then maybe that's something to discuss, right? But in general, people need to be someone else when they're at work versus when they're at home.
Mm-hmm.
That's normal. It's healthy. And recognizing when a person is in work mode versus when they're ready to come home to the family, whatever that is kind of a key component to this. And that brings us to the second point of being each other's best consultants.
Yes, and oftentimes we'll come to one another with a problem um, that because you aren't in that situation, you aren't a coworker, you aren't a person who deals with the people in your office or the situations in your office every day, can look at it from a completely different point of view. Even after 10 years, we're still able to do that for each other because we don't live our work lives together. In that we are still doing different jobs.
Right, and we each have our own businesses and we have a business that we own
Together.
together. We're both consultants, we're both editors. So we have sort of firsthand experience with being each other's consultants, but also in the practical sense of editing.
Yeah.
Everyone needs an editor, even if you're a professional editor.
Yes.
And so we edit each other's work often, and we consult with each other on many of these different things. Recognizing that your partner chose you because they trust you for these sort of circumstances, it's an opportunity. It's an opportunity for you to find new insight into solving your workplace problems. And I do this all the time. She may not understand some details of programming that is a project that I'm working on, but I can come and discuss it to her, and maybe a question that she has about how it works unlocks the answer to what I was looking to do.
And oftentimes it's the same thing for me. I'll be stuck on a certain way to edit something and I can come to him and say, "What do you think?" And he'll have a different perspective because he doesn't do that type of editing that I do every day. So he has a different way to look at it. And that has been incredibly beneficial to both of us, and it's also been just beneficial to our relationship to learn how each of us think differently in the workplace.
But that brings us to the third point, and it's that your partner is not always coming to you for advice or consultation.
That's pretty common for me to come and ask for, and just be frustrated about or being stuck somewhere. And what I'm not looking for is advice. And that's pretty common for a gender difference between men and women. And he's always wanting to solve my problems. And has finally learned that sometimes that's not what I'm looking for.
It's really about listening. Everything comes down to listening, but this is particularly an issue of listening. Because you're exposed to the frustrations of your partner in doing their job, you need to listen for if they're actually asking for you with help in solving it.
Mm-hmm.
Because the reality is, lots of the time they're not. They just need someone to express their frustrations to, or to vent in a place where they may have previously done that with a colleague or a coworker, and they can't do that now, and so that's now your job.
Well, and it's even more than that, because your partner would come home and vent to you, but here you're actually in a workplace with your partner, so to speak, and so the nuance is just a little bit different. But we truly believe that if you can stop and think and talk to your partner about going through these issues, that it will not only strengthen your work relationship, it will also strengthen your personal relationship.
And so today that we've talked about, first recognizing that we are different people when we're at work and when we're at home. And recognizing that we can be each other's best consultants if we're willing to be open to the idea of reflecting on what our personal skills are versus what our partner's skills are. And finally, understanding when they don't want a consultant and when they just need somebody to talk to. It took us a long time to get here.
Yeah.
It really did. And so we're hoping that this coronavirus crisis does not last as long as our marriage has. And hopefully we can get you to the point where we are more quickly than it took us to get here ourselves. As always, find us on Twitter at BubbaProg.
And Pen Loves Paper.
And ask us more questions about the sort of things that you need to know about how we make the work-life balance happen.